Good evening. Welcome to the Hinton Votes Decision 2021 virtual information session. My name is Sandra Rendell. I'm the Legislative Services Coordinator and the Deputy Returning Officer for the Town of Hinton. Also joining me tonight to help with the presentation is Joelle Beck. Joelle is a practicum student working with Legislative Services. Tonight's presentation will be a repeat of our last information session held in March. This presentation is provided for informational purposes only. As we go through the presentation, if you have any questions, please type them into the comment box on YouTube and we will provide the answer at the end of the presentation.
Some topics we'll be covering tonight are general election information, the governing legislation used for elections, what to do before filing for nomination, duties of councillors and mayor, what is required for eligibility and what makes an individual ineligible for nomination, campaign financing and expenses, what the nomination process looks like, campaign financing and expenses, the do's and don'ts of campaigning, and campaign advertising and campaign disclosure.
The 2021 municipal election will take place on October 18th, 2021. The Town of Hinton residents will elect one mayor and 6 councillors. Also anticipated for October 18th, 2021 is the Senate election and provincial referendum questions. Key timelines and dates include nomination period. This runs from January 1st to 12 noon on September 20th, 2021. The campaign period is from January 1st to December 31st, 2021. We are still in the process of determining the advance poll dates. The election is Monday, October 18th, with the polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Municipal elections are governed by the Local Authorities Election Act and the Town of Hinton election bylaws. The Town of Hinton is responsible to manage municipal election processes, conduct the vote and requirements under the Local Authorities Election Act, the Senate Election Act, and the Referendum Act. Once the election is over, we will conduct official tabulation and the results of the election. The Local Authorities Election Act outlines election rules and processes for the municipalities in Alberta. Recent amendments to the Local Authorities Act include defining the roles of electors, candidates, third-party advertisers, and returning officers. Each stakeholder plays an important role in interconnected roles of the election process. Returning officers are impartial and independent. Candidates are advised to refer to the legislation and obtain legal advice regarding the full extent of their obligation. Before filing your nomination papers, you may want to ask yourself some questions. Are you interested in public service? Do you know the roles and responsibilities of a mayor and councillors? Are you eligible for nomination? Keep in mind that candidates may not accept any contributions or incur campaign expenses until the candidate files nomination papers with the municipality. Duties of councillors. Once elected, the 4-year commitment to public service begins. Elected officials put in significant hours to serve their roles and meet their responsibilities. Currently, the mayor is a full-time position and councillors are deemed part-time. Under Section 153 of the Municipal Government Act, councillors' duties include considering the welfare and interests of the municipality as a whole, and to bring to council's attention anything that would promote the welfare or interests of the municipality. Promote an integrated and strategic approach to intermunicipal land use planning, service delivery with neighboring municipalities. Participate generally in developing and evaluating the programs and policies of the municipality, and to participate in council meetings and council committee meetings and meetings of other bodies to which they are appointed by council. Also obtain information about the operation or administration of the municipality from the Chief Administrative Officer or a person designated by the Chief Administrative Officer. Keep in confidence matters discussed in private at a council or committee meeting until it is held during a public meeting. Adhere to the code of conduct established by council and perform any other duties or functions imposed on councillors by this or any other enactment by council. Duties of a mayor. As previously mentioned, the mayor is a full-time position. In addition to performing the duties of a councillor, the mayor must preside when in attendance at a council meeting, unless by bylaw that other councillors or other persons is to preside and perform any other duties imposed on a chief elected official by this or any other enactment by bylaw. The chief elected official is a member of all council committees and all bodies to which council have the right to appoint members under the Act. Eligibility for nominations. To be eligible to run in the upcoming municipal election, you must be eligible to vote in that election, be at least 18 years old, a Canadian citizen, and your place of residence is in Hinton on election day, and must be a resident of the town of Hinton for 6 consecutive months immediately preceding nomination day. So a resident of Hinton since March 20th, 2021, and not otherwise ineligible or disqualified for disqualified. For complete information, please see section 21 of the Local Authorities Act. The nomination paper and candidate's acceptance form 4 must be completed and requires the candidate to sign an affidavit confirming that they are eligible to be elected and will accept office if elected and has reviewed the Local Authorities Election Act. Ineligibility for nominations. The Local Authority Act provides an overview of when a person is ineligible to be nominated as a candidate in a municipal election. This includes a person that is an auditor for the town, a person that is an employee for the town unless the person takes a leave of absence, the person owes taxes to the town, or owes the town any amount exceeding $500 for more than 90 days. And that the person has within the previous 10 years not been convicted of an offense under, to look for that, I would go to section 22 and 23 of the Local Elections Act. Nomination requirements. Interested candidates must submit their nomination papers and a candidate's acceptance form 4 with a minimum of 5 signatures from eligible electors in Hinton. The form 4 must be commissioned. We may commission the form for you at the time of filing. If not, it needs to be commissioned by a commissioner of oaths before filing. The town does not require any deposits, and the forms can be downloaded on our website at hinton.ca/election.
Here we see a candidate timeline simplified. The following steps are: Step 1, decide if you want to run. Are you interested in public service? Step 2, file for the nomination papers. Step 3, know all the rules and legislation. And step 4, finally, campaign. There are some campaign financing regulations that must be followed. Corporations, trade unions, and employee organizations are not allowed to contribute to candidates. There are also limitations on contributions. An individual Albertan may contribute up to $5,000 per candidate during the campaign period. A candidate can contribute up to $10,000 to their own campaign during the campaign period. A person may accept up to $5,000 per year outside a campaign period. A person may contribute up to $10,000 per year outside the campaign period. The donation portion of fundraising contributions are now subject to contribution limits and disclosure requirements. This was not the case in the last election, so please be aware of this. Candidates must be nominated before incurring any expenses or accepting in nominations. Definitions of expense must align with the provincial legislation, and expense reporting will be more detailed this year. Candidates must open a dedicated campaign bank account when contributions reach $1,000. This was previously $5,000, and must include any monies contributed by the candidate for their own campaign. Candidates must disclose names and addresses of all donations exceeding $50, was previously $100, and final disclosure statements are required for all self-funded campaigns. Now we will discuss what allowable campaign expenses are. Essentially, a campaign expense is an expense a candidate makes during a campaign to help get elected. This includes any expense incurred or non-monetary contribution received by a candidate to the extent that the property or service of that expense was incurred for, or that the received as a non-monetary contribution is used to directly promote or oppose a candidate during a campaign period. Campaign expenses include the production of advertising or promotional material, the distribution, broadcast, or publication of advertising or promotional material in any media or by any means during a campaign period, including by use of a capital asset. The payment of remuneration and expenses to or on behalf of a person for the person's services as a chief financial officer in any capacity, securing a meeting place, or to conduct opinion poll surveys or research during a campaign period. Next is, how do I campaign? There's not a standard set or legislation requirements for campaigning during a municipal election. Candidates' campaign style should match the uniqueness of the municipality, that the candidate's own personality to their resources. The goal of campaigning process is to convince the electors that you are the best candidate for the position. Previous strategies include door knocking, which when the pandemic's restrictions are lifted, this can recommence, the use of signage, making brochures and posters, and participating in local candidate debates and forums, and then the use of social media pages or websites, and finally hosting meet and greets. You can do this virtually or when the restrictions are lifted again.
What can you not do during a campaign? There are a variety of offensive provisions included in the Local Authorities Election Act that candidates should review and understand. These include bribery, undue influence, canvassing on election day. For more information on what you cannot do, please refer to the Local Authorities Election Act. Campaign advertising. Campaign activities and advertising on properties surrounding the voting station is prohibited. Returning officers can enforce the restriction on campaign activities or advertising at voting stations by causing campaign advertising to be removed and instruct those obstructing the voting process or taking part in the campaign activities to leave the property. All third-party advertising is regulated in municipal elections through the Local Authority Election Act. This includes registration requirements and limit on expenses.
There are limitations on areas, size, time, and certain bylaws that have to be considered when making signage. Permittable signage areas include residential, commercial, industrial, and special public property. The max dimension for signage is 2 meters squared with an area height of no higher than 1.5 meters. Signage can be posted no more than 60 days prior to the election and must be removed within 7 days of the election. No signage shall be placed on any location that affects safety or visibility. Finally, the campaign disclosure. Campaign disclosure statement and financial statement, which is Form 26, can be found on the Town of Hinton website. This form provides information on all contributions and expenses, including outside the campaign period. This is required of all candidates, including self-funded candidates. All candidates must submit the Form 26 to the Town of Hinton by March 1st, 2022. A good tip is to begin to track your contributions and expenses as soon as possible.
Thank you, Joelle. So our contact information is up if you have any questions, and also the contact information for municipal affairs and also Elections Alberta. So the Senate election and the referendum questions, we will be performing those duties under Elections Alberta. And then the very last is our mailing address, phone number to contact, and email if you have any further questions. And I'm not sure if we received any in the chat or not.
No questions.
No questions.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching and learning about elections today.
Thanks, everybody, and have a great night.